This may never make it to the light of day. But I have to give this a try. I know this is super creepy, y'all. But especially given what my last video was, I have to tell y'all what's going on. And I really hope this turns out okay. I'm trying to I know this is weird, but I've already mentioned how I have to work early, so kind of puts things together for you a little bit more. Let me get to it. The last time I recorded, I was on the swing in my backyard. I can't tell you how important of a place that has been to me growing up, and probably to my sisters as well. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I can guess. Finally getting back to this thing that I know God has given me to do, and being afraid to actually say that, or not necessarily afraid, but knowing that if I say that, if I convey that to people, to especially the ones closest to me, again, I love y'all, I love you, but we've not had the strongest connection, especially spiritually. So for me to say that this is something that God has called me to, I've gotten in trouble for that in the past. And y'all, again, I'm sorry about this picture. It's well, I don't hear it raining anymore, but so there's water, there's droplets on my window with a light shining through it. I'm I'm in a parking lot. How do I go about saying what's going on? I just listened to a Wild at Heart, Ransomed Heart Ministries podcast by John Eldredge. And again, I know they can be touch and go, especially to the people that I'm close to. They can get rather supernaturally wild and out there. But this podcast that I listen to, even the title, it says something is shifting. This big foreboding, big mystical feeling. It's controversial. And even me reading it, just trying to excuse me, to be discerning, to take in the counsel of these people that I love so much, and trying to just be careful. Even though, again, these are John Eldredge and his lifestyle, and even the people that he podcasts with, I don't exactly directly connect to, but this podcast speaks directly to what's going on, to what I'm feeling. I've been, that's too much to talk about right now, but last time I recorded, that was after work Monday, right? I can't even remember now. Yes it was. Because Tuesday, I went into work. I was on Dayquil, and so that was holding off the sickness okay. I told my manager, and he kindly went into the freezer for me because I told him I didn't want this to get any worse, and I think he could see. I think he could finally see physically that I was sick, not that he was happy about it. And I don't blame professionally just how frustrating that can be and what might need to happen, because this is something that's anyway. I told you work was another issue, but so when I got off, I actually ended up leaving an hour earlier than I was supposed to. Again, they keep playing around with the schedule. I was 5 to 10 all week, but for some reason, Tuesday, I was scheduled 5 to 11. Like, to remember those little tiny things when I'm sick, when it's just, anyway. I ended up going home just knowing that the day previous I didn't make it to that second video that I said I was going to. That second video was going to be my testimony. And then the day after work, the next day, was ruined because of how I felt, how much more sick I got. Well, I mean, technically, the way that my colds have always worked, or that I get a sore throat, sometimes I can beat it at the sore throat by getting, cough drops and hydrating and beating it that way. Sometimes it doesn't. And more often than not, these colds come around at the change of seasons. So I guess, like in the spring, all the pollen and stuff comes out, and so affects the system, and I get a sore throat, and the cold lasts for about 4 days. It goes from a sore throat to a runny nose to a stuffy nose to a cough, and then, maybe it'll go into my head and get stuffed ears, and that rarely ever happens. But so, I've learned how my body works in these type of situations. Recently, with the change from summer to fall, I've already gotten sick. I've already gotten this change of the season cold. Actually had to take out exactly the 4 days. It happened at just a certain time, especially to affect work in a certain way. And now the weather has changed again. I mean, I don't know what was going on the first time around. Everyone talks about, different things going on with the weather, with global warming, all that kind of stuff. But this time was actually, the area that I'm in's time to go from 90s, 80s to 70s, 60s, which is, enough of a temperature shift. Made the air super dry, and so I got sore throat. The next day it wasn't as dry. I can feel, probably the rain it's now starting up again as evidence of it, but it's not so dry. But the sickness progresses. But I kind of see what's going on otherwise. The last week that I had where my hours were this short, I was also physically not feeling well. And not feeling well enough to where I let myself get lazy and not take the clear opportunity that there was to get back on track with the channel, which is what I felt God had already established as, like I was saying before, the final push to actually get me to do them. Because God has always had his hand in my work schedule. As shifting as the retail food industry schedule is, oh man. This is going to be such a weird video to post if I do. I don't want it to be like this religious, like, doom, like I'm in this weird lighting and let me tell you what the devil is doing, but I gotta get this out too at the same time. I have to expose him. I have to say it. And who knows, what worst thing can happen to me. At the end of the day, my statement of faith, my testimony, which I haven't, delineated out for y'all yet, I don't care. God has already won, and He's got me. Ooh, dramatics. Yeah. So, there is a clear, and, it was all part of the setback that I kept referring to last time I recorded. It was just enough, with all of the software struggles, it was just enough to bump me off my track, get me disheartened, get me lazy, to where I didn't even, I tried, and I exceeded to a certain degree to, attempted to watch back the Sims videos that I had recorded. They're like hour 20 minutes long, which is not a problem. I watch them from other people, so that's not necessarily a problem, but it was a struggle to get back to watching them with the life, with the routine that I mentioned, with the laziness, with the, they're an hour long. Man, this lighting, y'all, I'm sorry. Happy accident, y'all. Indeed. So what I was trying to do was, my phone case is one of those where it's got the wallet behind it, so I was just trying to open the little flap, and so that I could rest like my thumb in there, have a different hand position because it was falling asleep and cramping up and stuff, but it ended up touching the record button and stopped the recording. I was worried that, I didn't know where it had stopped, so I was able to watch back what I just recorded. I was able to turn up the brightness on my phone and was able to see me just fine, even though just, the artist in me, it was really cool that the patterns that the water droplets on my face were making, it made it look like wood grain. Isn't that kind of, anyway. So hopefully I'll be able to do that in my editing software, is just turn up the brightness so you can actually see me. The sound quality, I did have it turned it all the way up, but I was able to hear it. I'm not using my headphones, or, I'm just using the microphone on my phone, so. But now, I've got my car window open, so there's a little bit of traffic. Sunrise is supposed to be at 7:45, I think, but it's raining, so it might still be gray. But y'all, I'm here. The breeze is beautiful. Smell of the rain. We're here. Where did I leave off? Unless there's something to finish. Diary of an Introvert. Hello, I am Lindsay. This is me. This is what this is about. Just telling my story as it happens. This is how it's happening. As weird as it is, to show other people out there, to maybe me just trying to justify and validate myself and my actions, as weird as they are, but I'm still enjoying them. Maybe I shouldn't be letting all this come out because it's weird, and now that, I can definitely see my hand holding up a phone in the light of this parking lot. maybe I will get someone coming by and saying the library's not open, or the park's not open yet. Live and learn, y'all. Bottom line of this message, and I know when I do all this, it affects the microphone. I just adjust. Bottom line. The breakthrough that I mentioned in my last video. I can't go into detail about it yet. But in letting go of something that has been so important to me, but a sin, something I put before God, something I used as in my bitterness towards God, and letting go of that, I was able to let go not completely. I don't know exactly how how much it did at the time, just what it means, what it's going to mean walking forward in the future, just in these days now. But there has been a huge shift for me in my relationship with God, especially regarding since my mom passed away. There's so much to say about my walk, and that is really just going to have to come out in bits and pieces. The video for my testimony is a clear story, but a person's life is complicated, and I don't know. I'm still figuring out if things are just going to come out diary-wise, or if I'm actually going to do a Bible study on here on this channel. But, point being, the breakthrough that I had, and the confirmation of it today, with what I was able to let go of that day. The physical sometimes just the right words are not there. But I was able to let go of something that represented something else huge, and finally able to get me back to a right standing in my relationship with God, to where I can say without shame, without doubt, that it's something that I want, that I believe. That again, I now again place all of my trust and my faith in God and God alone. no matter what happens to me. Even through all of this, He is faithful. I can come back. I have come back to a place where we're connected. And I can actually say with assurance that it doesn't. Again, these are scary things to say, especially with the conversations that I've had with people in my life, with anybody. It's a scary thing to say. I don't care if I lose my job. It sounds irresponsible. And yes, I have that in me. I admit to that. But what I was raised with, somehow, by God's will, by God's grace, despite what my parents, despite what society and culture tried to do, what I have had in me, the relationship that I know that I've had with God, I can say, I believe, I trust. Look who's trying to stop me to get this out. I don't care if I lose my job. Of course, I'm called to be a steward of what God has entrusted me to have. I'm supposed to be responsible, respectful. I'm supposed to love my coworkers, my customers, my managers, as God calls me to. My responsibilities, as God calls me to, treat them as God calls me to. But I'm not a slave to them. I'm not a slave to money. God provides. I have seen in my life personally where He brings me to places where I have to trust in Him practically. I can't speak for anyone else's life. I can't compare myself, my story, my walk with anyone else's. But God has given me this story, this truth about my walk with Him. He has given me confirmations. And now I am back to a place of repentance. Of real repentance. It wasn't like it is now. It wasn't as real as it is now. I don't know if it was a type thing or not. Again, but alright, y'all. My gosh. Like, I always thought something like this was possible, and hopefully my demeanor is saying something good about what's going on. But anyway, so this last interruption was my alarm to call work, to call out sick. The rule for them is to only call. You can't call ahead of time for some reason. You have to call the day you're going to be out, even though my shift started earlier than when the store opened, but I can only call when the store opened. Anyway. But by God's grace, the manager who answered said, no problem. See you when you get back. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do, I was able, again, to rewatch what I just recorded, and this is all going up. This is all going up. God is going to do with it as He will. It's scary. It's scary, y'all. But I believe I'm being faithful. It's not just because it's something that I want out of ambition, out of selfishness. But He's given me confirmations. Anyway, I don't know where this video is going to go. I'll probably tack it all to the last two as part of the vlog. So,